Okay. I have dogs. Okay, so obviously I'm just doing this off the cuff, but I think it's important to share with everyone. It's like 100 degrees here, so I'm sweating. I was suspended from Facebook for 7 days for saying these exact words and nothing more. Russia, well, let me correct that. Russians are invaders and war criminals. I'll repeat that. That's the only thing I said. There was no obscenity. All I said and posted in a comment in a response to someone was Russians are invaders and war criminals. And for that, Facebook suspended me for 7 days. I can't post, I can't comment. All my posts for the next 26 days will be buried, and I can't partake in any groups for 26 days. Now, Facebook determined and claimed that was hate speech. So Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook determined that the state that Russians are invaders and war criminals is hate speech. Now, how are Russians not invaders? Invaded a peaceful neighboring nation of the Ukraine. How are they not war criminals when The Hague is not just in Ukraine investigating their war crimes, but documenting their war crimes? So these are statements of fact. And if I'm guilty of hate speech for these two statements of fact, then the address yesterday by the First Lady of the Ukraine to our Congress was hate speech. The briefing from the Pentagon's Mr. Kirby was hate speech. The President of the United States is guilty of hate speech because anything that criticizes Russia, Vladimir Putin, the Kremlin, the Russian military, and 70 to 85% of the Russian population who support this invasion and slaughter in Ukraine are guilty of hate speech. They're slaughtering and targeting and murdering civilians. And if you criticize that, Facebook will suspend you for 7 days, and Zuckerberg will claim that that's hate speech. If this was 1939, and as the German Nazi army was pouring into Poland, setting off the Second World War, if you said the Germans are invaders, Zuckerberg would have suspended you for hate speech. So do not trust Zuckerberg. This is not the first time that Zuckerberg has colluded with the Russians against America and our national security. And while it seems petty, Facebook suspended me for 7 days, the ramifications of the fact that an American cannot claim that the Russians are invaders while they're in the midst of a brutal invasion on what is the world platform town square is evidence of Zuckerberg, Meta, and Facebook's collusion with the Kremlin and Russia against America. And this is not the first time that Zuckerberg and Facebook have colluded with Russia and even been paid and accepted payment in rubles. Okay? Facebook played a big part in the preparation and organization of the January 6th insurrection and assault against our capital. Facebook accepted millions and millions of dollars in rubles from Russia for all the mission and ads that it posted prior to the 2016 election to help elect Putin's selected candidate, Donald Trump. So Zuckerberg has colluded with Russia against America multiple times. Now, I wrote the White House and I wrote the State Department, and said, this isn't just about me, because when they restrict your account, no one else can see that they've restricted your account. So they're so ashamed of their petty, despicable, suspect practices that they keep it hid from other. I mean, if you suspended me, you should say this account is restricted for 7 days. Even if it is for hate speech, I don't know how saying Russians are invaders is hate speech. How are Russians not invaders? When you send your military over a border into another nation, you've invaded. And please spare me, because I'm well aware that America was totally guilty of an illegal invasion in Iraq. The entire Iraq war was one big war crime. Okay, I mean, we were lied to, hundreds of lies were told. As far as I'm concerned, George Bush and Dick Cheney and Wolfowitz and Rumsfeld and Condi Rice all were lying, and they lied us into a war that cost thousands of American lives and hundreds of thousands of Iraqi lives, and none of them has paid a price for it. I mean, and it's despicable and disgraceful. And lots of war crimes were committed, especially by the members of Blackwater, who just used Iraqi civilians for target practice. Kellogg, Brown, and Root and Halliburton were guilty of gang rapes that Holder, Attorney General Holder at the time, said he couldn't prosecute, because he didn't have jurisdiction, which is just, willful blindness and malfeasance on his part, disgraceful. Okay, because he was almost as weak and lame as Merrick Garland. And I mean, that's another issue. I mean, if Biden doesn't do something about Merrick Garland, Biden himself is violating his oath of office to protect and defend the Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic. Garland already has completely, I mean, he's got the entire FBI to be doing investigations, and he's letting Congress be way out of it. But the issue and the purpose of this is to share, because who knows how many thousands of people have been suspended from Facebook for saying Russians are invaders or that Russia is committing war crimes. I mean, Zuckerberg is acting in collusion with the Russian FSB and Kremlin against America and all Western democracies. When questioned and interviewed in March, he wouldn't even admit to and say that the Russian incursion by its military into Ukraine was an invasion. He still won't say it's an invasion because he's pulling Vladimir Putin's line. And the CIA and the NSA had better get on this. The Senate Intelligence Committee better look into this, because social media, it has a huge effect and sways opinions of millions of people, a billion people. So if you can't say on Facebook Russians are invaders, you can't say the sky is blue and the grass is green. They could claim it's misinformation. They could say, oh, that's your opinion, the sky is blue. So, Zuckerberg should be really, his history of accepting rubles, of colluding with Putin against American democracy, they keep letting him skate on this. But this is more than tacit support for war crimes. I mean, they've painted and marked buildings with children in it, and the Russians have bombed it. They're indiscriminately bombing civilian centers and strictly civilian buildings. We found people murdered with their hands tied behind their backs. Women have been raped and killed. And the Russian army is famous for being rapists. Okay? I mean, women during World War II, as much as the Russians suffered unbelievably, losing 27 million people to the fighting the Nazis. And remember, the Russians fought 2/3 of all of Germany's armies. America, yeah, we defeated the Nazis, but we only ever faced and fought 1/3 of Hitler's armies. They faced and fought 2/3 of Hitler's armies. The biggest battles in the history of the world were in Russia. 10,000 tanks on either side meeting each other in Kursk. So one thing Facebook and America doesn't like is anybody that knows history or has the really fantastic retention of facts that I have. So, what we've got is the largest social media platform is tacitly and actively reporting war crimes and an illegal invasion. And Vladimir Putin, one of the world's biggest, if not the world's biggest criminal, and probably the world's richest man, even richer than Elon Musk. I mean, he's robbed and plundered Russia. The Russian people, why they support this guy is just, it's trying to explain why people in America support Donald Trump. I mean, it's just insanity. He's worth over $200 billion. Everything that even his other multi-billionaire oligarchs own and control is at his beck and call, and he can strip them of every penny of it anytime he wants. So, I mean, I don't know who needs a $500 million yacht, but that's what we're talking about. We're talking about Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook more than tacitly supporting the war crimes, slaughter of civilians, murder of children, murder of pregnant women, rape and murder of women. And this is all Zuckerberg willing to accept that because he's getting paid in rubles from the Russians, for whatever support. And he's gotten paid in rubles for lying to and misrepresenting facts to the American people. He's done harm to our nation in the 2016 election. He did harm to our nation on January 6th. And now he's doing harm to American foreign policy and national security in regards to these murdering, raping, war criminal Russian barbarians. So, I hope the NSA and the CIA, who are probably hip to this, share some of this with the White House. And I hope the FTC looks into this because they have jurisdiction in this. And I hope that the American intelligence, intelligence committee calls Zuckerberg in front of them and asks him, did Russia invade the Ukraine? And shut up and see how he answers or what he answers. So, this guy is just a treasonous, spineless, pusillanimous, pernicious little billionaire who ripped off his idea anyway to begin with to create Facebook. So it'll be another 2 days till I can post on Facebook for saying, and this is all I said, Russians are invaders and war criminals. And for that, I was suspended for 7 days. So those are strictly statements of fact. That is not hate speech. Okay, who's hateful is Mark Zuckerberg. That's who's hateful. Who's hateful, deceitful, spineless, pernicious, pusillanimous, gutless, and not trustworthy is Mark Zuckerberg. Thank you.